Coming at you live from DNHQ in beautiful South Pasadena, California. This is the Blue Heaven Podcast. What is going on, Dodgers Nation? My name is Clint. You can find me as RealFRG on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes, you can, guys. My name is Brooke. You can find me at BrookeMe3 on Twitter and Instagram. On today's show, a lot of really good things going on. First of all, I think you called it Fly the L, Cubbies.
Fly the L, Cubbies.
Yeah, that's we get to celebrate the Cubs win after being no hit. We'll take that series win, though.
Well, you take it again. You predicted. You nailed it. Knocked it out of the park. We also got a friend of the show. Hey, this is wild times, guys. It's almost like real life is back again. We got a real life human person that isn't me, him, or Gary here in the studio. Yes, your Dodgers play-by-play man. Tim Neverett is in the studio, and we're going to bring him up in a moment, but he's watching you all right now, I promise. We're going to be talking about his new book coming up. It drops at the end of August, but it's something you're definitely going to want to go out and pre-order now. It's COVID Curveball. It's an inside view of the 2020 Los Angeles Dodgers World Championship season. He even brought a ring in here, which is pretty cool. And also we got to talk a little bit about the fight for first place. The Dodgers are playing the Giants for 2 at Dodger Stadium, and that's going to be a fun one because it is there's some real marquee matchups going on there. But before we get into all of that, we got to remind you we're our podcast, so if you can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcast, Pandora, and all those spots. So we'd appreciate it if you go there, leave us a nice rating, leave us a nice review. We'll be happy you did. And also, please do subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/DodgersNationTV. We'll be glad you did.
I like how you just go into autopilot mode. You just know all the right things to say. You know
Sometimes
your lines.
you know the lyrics.
Company lines, guys. Don't forget, this is a live stream. We are here in the flesh. Tim will be here with us. We will bring him on, but we want to jump into the comments. We want to connect with you guys again. Happy Monday to you all over on Periscope. Anthony says, yo, happy Monday, my dudes. Anthony in pretty much every single show. Tina also in every single show over on Facebook says, hello, Dodgers Nation. Swag Daddy McGee over on the Twitch says, my body's ready for a 7-inning 12K outing from Bauer. I will take that against the Giants for sure.
Jumbo Jack outing right there.
A Jumbo Jack outing, yeah, very special.
We got Richard Eagles in the stream on Facebook. What's up, gentlemen? What's going on? Look at that. Gary's in the stream, says, damn, the new camera looks good. Yes, it does. I set it up that way. And also, guys, if you do have any questions for Tim, please do start dropping them now. We're going to get to as many, if not all of the questions y'all have about the book, about the Dodgers, about the 2020 season, about Tim's preferred shoes or beer. We'll take it all. We're here to have some fun. It's a happy Monday here, or teeny tiny Friday. Itty bitty Friday.
Yeah, we're big fans of the Kona Bruin fellas over there.
Roach is tuning in from somewhere. Sergio's tuning in from Brawley, California. Says, let's go Dodgers. We got 13 more days until Alexander's at a ball game. That's pretty cool.
It's a good timeline, yeah. Justin over on Periscope says, hopefully Bauer's in the green today. I like how fans are able to catch on to like one little thing that somebody said at some point and just run with it for the rest of the season. I like that a lot. It's Thumper over on YouTube says, so excited for tomorrow. I think she is going to, is there a giveaway tomorrow?
Is it the it's the, what's it called? The Muncie,
there you go.
Go
Muncie
get it out of
Yep.
Go get him out of the warehouse.
Big giveaway day. I really like that the bobbleheads are back, by the way.
Yeah.
I miss bobbleheads. I didn't realize how much I missed bobbleheads.
All right, let's go ahead and start diving into a little bit about what happened. The Dodgers did good. They won. Well, they were doing really, really bad, and then they decided to do good. And that's my analysis. Back to you in studio.
Yeah, I think you really nailed that. I think at the beginning of the series, they're coming off a series sweep in San Diego.
It was really flat. Like we said, really flat, embarrassing ball. They weren't there. They weren't all locked in. Then they decided to start hitting, decided to start doing more better, as the kids say. Good series overall for the boys in blue. It was a much needed series to come away with 3 of 4 against the not so hated Chicago Cubs. Good to see our boy Jock Peterson home wearing a different shade of blue. I was at the game on Sunday, and it was nice to see, Jock walk off the field and get a nice ovation from the fans there cheering for him. It's great to see what he hates to be called Vintage Kirsch. Well, we saw Vintage Kirsch on Sunday. He was just straight dealing, and Cody's heating up. So all the things that you would hope to see as a Dodger fan are going well. The guys are getting a little bit healthier. We might see, Corey back in the next couple of weeks. Things are doing well.
Yeah, it's good. I think I do really like calling him Vintage Kershaw, even if he doesn't like that, because it is just a reminder of like how good that he actually is, even though we might not necessarily see him in that light all the time. But man, he looked good. He looked real good.
Mm-hmm. I like pro tip. I like when the Dodgers are a little bit better than bad.
I prefer that.
Yeah,
Personally speaking, I prefer when the Dodgers
slightly
are good.
above average is what we look for, and that's why we hired Brooke.
Thank you. I'll be here all this month.
Digging into the comments a little bit here, we got some more. We got Gary saying "Boo the Giants." I think Gary wanted to be here. Gary, did you want me to invite you? We had another chair. I could have, like taped the camera to the table for you.
He's hurt.
Man, we got Tacoma, Washington, 102 degrees in Tacoma. Not a fan of that.
I don't think it's supposed to get that hot in Washington. I don't know much, but I don't think it's supposed to be that hot.
Robert is hoping the Bats stay alive, and JB asked if Lux should be cross-trained in the outfield. I don't think they're there with him yet. I think they want him to stay in the infield, and I think, as we've mentioned before, we've learned a lot about that future at shortstop should Corey Seager happen to walk if he ever comes back and gets healthy, but that's a whole different deal. All right, we don't want to be awkward and make our lovely guest wait and just stare at us and stare at the wall. It's real bad. We are bad people. We threw him in a corner, and I blame Brooke mostly for that. But guys, August 31st, the book drops, COVID Curveball. It's an inside view of the 2020 Los Angeles Dodgers World Championship. You guys know the voice. It's a real pro voice. So this is what it's going to be like if we were actually sounding professional. This is what it would sound like. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Tim Neverett, play-by-play man for your world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Tim, thanks for stopping by.
Guys, great to have me. Good thing you're so close to Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, it's the only way. We had to lure him over here.
No, it's nice. You guys have a good setup here. I didn't know if I was going into Wayne Campbell's basement in Aurora, Illinois, or where I was headed, but this is my first time here, and it's actually really nice. So
we try a little bit, and this usually gives people a false sense of security. And then we offer them the beer, and then things get a little wonky. But you smartly took the water. That's another professional move right there. But book. How does one decide to write a book? It's a bold move.
It is. And, last year when we were shut down in spring training in March, and then we were sent home, literally in the middle of the woods with my wife and dog, and we're marching around, hiking the dog around in the woods. I had no idea what we were going to face as a season. Would it be 60 games? Would it be 100 games? Would we play at all? And if we did, what would it be like? Obviously, it was going to be different than any other season ever, which it was.
Yep.
And so I just said to my wife, I said, here's kind of an out-of-the-box idea. What if I just kind of chronicled what happened every day? We got a pretty good team. We might have a chance to win one of these, maybe win a World Series. And
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, she said, yeah, you should definitely do it. Just chronicle it, just journal it. And so each day in real time, I started writing. So before I got back to L.A., when summer camp convened, I guess, and the team reconvened, I just kind of caught up with what happened when I went to spring training, the day it shut down, where I was, how it happened, because I actually wasn't in Arizona the day it shut down. I was actually in Las Vegas at the Pac-12 basketball tournament.
Oh.
I had 3 days off. And my sons live up in Vegas, so I drove up there, and a good buddy of mine is a booster for the University of Colorado, so we had courtside seats, and we were at the last game that had fans. And during the day, everything was shutting down. So I talk about that. I caught up on that, and then there was a number of things that happened leading up to coming back to summer camp, and then why guys weren't there, who was on time, who was late. About the David Price opt-out, about, what happened. And the whole thing was just the bizarro Twilight Zone world of baseball. And seeing it from the inside was just completely different than anybody just watching it on TV.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was somebody who was at Camelback. I was there as a fan that particular day, but I see, I've told the story a few times where I see all the ushers and the workers going into the stadium, and then I see, in real time the Passan tweets and the Rosenthal tweets, and I'm like, oh shit, something's about to go bad. This is not going well. And you're there in the other side of it where you see the final game, and then the next day it's this, you get a tumbleweed, through the sports world. Yeah, it was a very awkward time, and I mean, I could see the inspiration to be like, what, this is, hope.
Yeah.
Once in a lifetime opportunity.
And just the different things that we had to go through, just not only to to do baseball games, but to get in the stadium,
Right.
to broadcast the games, to see who had to do what on a daily basis just to be able to play baseball games, never mind win them.
Yeah.
So, there's so many people who say, well, it should be an asterisk or it's a Mickey Mouse ring or whatever. That's not this season. And I've been through the wars before. Okay, I've been there. I've done it. I've gone through the full season. I've been through a World Series season before, and I understand that it's difficult because it's time consuming. It's all kinds of things happen. You have challenges along the way. But this season, 2020, was the most difficult to pull off.
Right.
Even though it was shorter, it was the most difficult to pull off. And there was just so many things. I mean, there were times when I didn't think we'd get through it, even though the Dodgers didn't have any problems until Game 6 of the World Series. And yes, that's included in the book as well. So there's a lot of different stories behind the scenes that I think a lot of Dodger fans would be interested in and say, no way. What do the back of the cardboard cutouts look like?
Right.
That's what we looked at every day.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it. Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
They didn't put the back of the head. They didn't print out the back of the head on those cardboard cutouts. You only saw the front of maybe the people in the pavilion. What is that like? I mean, we've heard some folks talk a bit about it, but here we got you here, somebody who lived it. As much as they could, just the awkwardness of playing. I mean, even in the summer camp games, I know John Hartung was calling a lot of those games, but still, just the cavernous, empty echo of Dodger Stadium and watching grown ass men play baseball. It was peculiar.
First and foremost, I give the players a ton of credit.
Yeah.
Because once they got between the lines, they played baseball, and they played at a major league level, and they played hard. Even though the crowd noise was pumped in, even though the fans arrived early and stayed late, which is unusual at Dodger Stadium sometimes.
They never left.
They never left. They stayed overnight. They were dedicated. Some days they were a little flat, but other than that, they were right there all the time. It was just so odd being there, and especially on the radio side, because I'm the one guy who goes back and forth between TV and radio. But on the radio side, with the headphones on and the crowd noise pumped in, and the Dodgers did an unbelievable job.
Absolutely.
At the crowd noise. Better than I think any other team.
Yep.
Because if you listen closely, you could hear the Let's Go Dodgers chants and the customized chants in there. And it was actually wonderful. But you could actually fool yourself with headphones on, watching the game, into thinking that there's something real going on down there, like it was 2019 or something. And then, of course, the third out would happen, the inning would break, and then you get back to reality again. You get kicked right back to that. But, we had a situation. I mean, Charlie Steiner's doing the radio games from his house, where Rick Monday is in one of the luxury suites. I'm in the luxury suite with Rick, and then the nights Charlie didn't do radio, I did it. And then the nights Joe didn't do TV, I did it.
Yeah.
TV was different. It was more normal because we were in the TV booth. And Oral and I were sitting approximately 5 feet 11 inches apart, socially distanced.
Maybe
5'10", maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
But close enough. Anyway,
6 feet on Tinder.
Yes. I guess so.
Yeah.
So I hadn't heard that. That's funny. That's
good. Yeah.
I wish I had thought of that. Anyway, but I think that there were just so many bizarre things, like when Houston came to town.
Yeah.
The extra security that was needed for the Astros. And there were things that I had never seen during the regular season. And this was with no fans in the building.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? No fans. And they're getting a police escort from the hotel for just a regular game. I've never experienced that. And I was with the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry in New York, okay, where it gets kind of nasty. We're pretty nasty.
Right.
And we never had a police escort to the ballpark on a regular basis, and all 3 or 4 of their buses that would leave the hotel at different times from downtown would have police escorts into Dodger Stadium. I've never seen that before. I imagine I will see it again in August.
Right.
But
maybe tenfold.
Yeah, maybe. But, just a lot of different things that you wouldn't normally see during a regular season we experienced. And I share a lot of that. I share a lot of the baseball stories I've had along the way that are somewhat relevant. You learn some things about, something that Mookie Betts did for me. That was a little thing that Mookie's done 100 times for people. Never thinks about it. But it turned out to be a big thing for something that happened in my family. He's a wonderful guy. You'll hear that, you read that story, and it might make you like Mookie even more. Even if he goes 1 for 4 instead of 3 for 4, you're going to like him even more.
Yeah, he's a likable fella either way.
Yeah, something that former Dodger infielder Alex Cora did for my family too. Things like that. Just some other baseball related stories. As to. Off the top of my head, why do they play the last game of the season at the same time, regardless of time zone?
Yep.
Well, I was involved in that when it occurred to Major League Baseball to do that, and I explained the whole story as to why they do it. So there's just a lot of different baseball stories, some different personal stories, but mostly it's a day-to-day chronicle of every single game. Because it's a 60-game season.
Yeah.
If it was 162 games, that'd be,
Might take a series off.
Yeah, that'd be probably would. But we can do things, and all the the strange things that had happened, and a lot of quotes from players and Dave Roberts and so on and so forth. But I think it's a great look back, and it's and one thing I have to mention too is the foreword. Oral Hershiser does the foreword, and Oral did such a good job that the editor at the publishing company calls me one day and he goes, "I've never read as in-depth a foreword as this." Oral did an amazing, amazing job. The first words in the book are quote from Vin Scully as it's the call, little spoiler alert for you, but it's the call of setting up the last out of the 1988 World Series.
Wow.
And then Oral takes over, takes you into his brain. Because there was a moment there where he stepped off the rubber before he threw the last pitch, and he took it all in. And he tells us what happened. And he takes us through that to having to film the Disney commercial in chaos and how they negotiated that actually the night before, right? Takes you and really does a wonderful job bridging 1988 to 2020, how he relates to Julio Urias, because they each got the last out of a World Series, but talks about Kershaw and talks about Seager being the MVP and how that'll change his life, and talks about Betts and Bellinger, and it's a really, really wonderful forward that Oral did, and I thank him so much for doing that. But when I told him about the project, he embraced it 100%, and so he's very, very excited and. For the thing to hit and for people to read it, and I am too. I'm excited for people because that's the first thing in the book.
Yeah.
Then I joke and say it's all downhill from there. But at the same time, it gives you a chance because this is my third year with the Dodgers, not my third year in Major League Baseball. I've been around Major League Baseball a long time, but the Dodger fans don't know me as well as they know the other broadcasters. But it gives you a chance to get to know me a little better too.
Yeah, I think that's one reason why when we were talking about it, we just love the concept of the idea of the book, because all year, the Dodgers did, for their part, they did a really good job of being able to bring fans in the best way that they could. Yeah. They did the Zoom parties as best they could. They did the behind-the-scenes type of action as best they could. But fans were just at home, and they were just thirsting so much just for something to be able to connect to the Dodgers, just something to make it feel like, hey, just make it feel a little bit normal for me rather than where I am. But I know when we were talking to Joe in the middle of last season, he was like, calling stuff off of monitors, it's like it's hard to evoke that kind of emotion. It's hard to feel that excited when you're just watching it off of a TV. So I guess my question is, what was your biggest struggle throughout that whole process?
It continues calling it off monitors.
Yeah.
It's not ideal to call games off monitors. I love calling the home games. I can't wait. I'm back doing the telecast during the Washington series. Unfortunately, they're on the road, and we'll be calling them off monitors at Dodger Stadium. But
it's a good commute, at least.
It is. For example, in Arizona, the last TV series I did, I think it was the Sunday in Arizona, there was a ground ball hit to Pujols at first base. Never saw it.
Yeah.
Never saw it. And I think in the first game, Beatty hit one off the center field wall, and it took a weird bounce. And because it never came down, and it hit right just below the yellow line and bounced up, and I saw a fan reaching for it, I thought it was on the line and out, because we're not only 600 feet away as we would be at the ballpark. We're like 1,000 miles away, and it's hard to see it in real time. And, for any mistakes we make, I apologize in advance and for past mistakes, but we can't see everything, and it's not an excuse, it's just a fact. And the one thing that Joe is exactly right on is you can't be that sure on a home run ball.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because think about it for a second. When you're watching it on TV, swing, contact to the ball, do you see the ball?
Right.
You don't see the ball
Right.
until a split second when it comes out of the sky, if it's a ball in the air. If it's a ground ball, you can see it. But for a home run ball, you just don't have the intensity because you can't see the trajectory. Now, at home, it's a different story.
Right.
But on the road, we have to wait until, whenever it is we ever get back to the games in person to be able to tell you the whole story. And kind of the way I look at it is, if you're a news reporter and you're reporting on a fire, are you reporting on it from the other station's TV feed?
Yeah.
You can't get the details. You really can't.
And I would imagine, the Diamondbacks, bless their heart, they do things a little bit different there. Not always the most big league. So I'm imagining you get one camera that's just kind of pointing down in the dirt and whatever it may be. But again, I'll kind of piggyback off of what Brooke was saying here. I mean, we were thankful for what you guys were able to do in such an awkward situation. Obviously, you can't punch every call the way you could. Not every. We had the home run, the walk-off jock hit a couple of years ago where it was barely gone, but he's pimping it like it was 30 rows up. Sure, sometimes you could read the player or what it is, or whatever it may be, but. Between listening to you, listening to Joe, any of Oral's stories, Nomar's stories, everybody did a phenomenal job in such an awkward situation where, you're really just doing it on the fly. It's such a peculiar, we've said it's a weird year, it's a strange year, and you guys knocked it out of the park. And again, with the crowd noise, you're listening on radio. You couldn't tell that it wasn't a regular game, and maybe there's a fraction of delay in the fake, the pumped in crowd noise. But you get it. It's a human element to it. Yeah, and speaking of delays, there's an explanation in the book as to another reason there were delays. But I want to give Dwayne McDonald, our radio producer, a ton of credit because he made it sound as seamless as possible. Mm-hmm. But if you're with him in the booth, some nights it's a nightmare. Huh?
Even this year, we didn't have. It was a particular game. In fact, I was at the stadium just before I came here. I was talking to Rick one day, and we were talking about the game that Dwayne was with us, and we were reminded about a game earlier where he didn't get the crowd noise until 30 seconds before we went on the air. Ooh. There was another game in, I think, San Diego where they lost the crowd noise for 2 minutes. We had another one where the crowd noise kept coming in and out, and it didn't matter if it was synced up or not. But, these are the challenges that we're dealing with that we wouldn't have had we, if we're at the ballpark. But that's, it's going to happen. We're taking baby steps, getting back to where things should be on a normal basis. But I do think when you listen to some of the radio games last year, it gave you a sense that, okay, this sounds kind of like it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Even though if you knew what it took to put it together, you'd be absolutely amazed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so wild how much went into it and how much was just like, hey, we're just learning on the fly. Like this is all new to all of us. Like no one has ever been through this before.
It's an orchestra, and it takes a few incredible maestros to make it happen.
Yeah, in the book we've got I've got some great photos too of where we broadcast from, what it looked like, some different things like that.
Those are the guys we need. We need that. We need a big one up here signed by the whole broadcast team.
Yeah, so it's
here's our dungeon.
It's interesting. I think people will like it. And
I want Charlie's broadcast booth too, which I think was just a lazy boy lounger in his living room.
Yeah, I don't know what. He had a lot of monitors and a lot of equipment. They actually had to add equipment late in the season to make it more so the internet wouldn't lag in terms of sound effects.
Right.
It was really a monster undertaking just to get the games on the air. But the whole book is not about just the broadcast.
Yeah, obviously.
It's about what it took
to get... The team won a game. They won a World Series.
They won more than a game, yeah. And I say that the thing that was the most 2020 was that you had a pitcher in Blake Snell in Game 6 who was shutting down the Dodgers, and due to analytics, he didn't last as long in the game as a guy playing third base who had tested positive for COVID-19.
Right.
That was, to me, the most 2020 thing about baseball. And what would have happened had we had to have a Game 7.
Oh, man.
When would that have been? If we would have had it at all.
Right.
Would we have had co-champions? I mean, would they have had to do... I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
But they probably would have delayed it for quite some time, or maybe said, Uncle, that's enough.
Yeah. Yep. I'm frightened to have imagined what Rob Manfred would have done in that situation.
Look, I think about it from time to time. I try not to let it creep into my mind too much. It makes me a little nervous, a little scared. But ultimately, we won. We got to walk away with it. Good experience for us.
I think a good opportunity this year again, too. I like the fact that we're back to 162 games, and every game doesn't count for 3-point how many games?
Yeah.
So
I'm bad at math. So
one game counts for one game, and we got a long way to go, more than halfway. So lots can happen between now and the end of September, I think. So I'm looking forward to the second half as much as anybody else is.
In terms of play and moments, we're privileged to call last year. What really stood out, either pandemic wise or really just like this is an incredible play, an incredible moment in a series of moments that leads to a World Series. What stood out with you most about the 2020 championship Dodgers?
There were so many great plays. I think of in the postseason against San Diego, the catch that Bellinger made off Tatis.
Yeah.
I love that one. I like the one in the Braves series that Mookie made. Who did he rob? Freeman?
Yeah.
I love that one. There were a lot of them. They came to play. And you look at the regular season, I'm trying to think offhand of, all the good stuff's really documented in the book. And I'm actually going to be reading the book again later next month.
There you go. There's an answer for some folks. We saw one comment on Twitter earlier asking if it's going to be an audiobook, and I guess this is an exclusive.
It will be, yes. We actually got that all finished up this afternoon, as a matter of fact. And late in July, I'll be spending several days in a studio in Burbank doing the audiobook. And I don't know when it'll come out yet. I don't have that answer yet, but there will be an audiobook. And, now it's available now in hardcover for pre-order on Amazon is the best place to get it. Also Kindle. You can order a Kindle version.
All right.
And a full 6 weeks before the book will be out, we're going to be in Denver at the All-Star Game. We've got 2 events on the 12th and 13th. From 1 to 6 in the afternoon at Blake Street Tavern, which is Denver's biggest and best sports bar. It's a block from Coors Field. We're going to do meet and greet. There's radio shows that'll be going on around us, and anybody going to the Home Run Derby or the All-Star Game will be there. We'll have a limited number of hard copies available there. So if you're headed to Denver for the All-Star Game, I wish we could stay for the Dodger series after that, but I got to come back here and call it from Dodger Stadium.
Right.
But if we were going to stay there, we would do a Dodger event. We might do another one in September for any Dodger fans that travel for that series. If anybody's going, we might do another one just for Dodger fans.
And stay tuned to our social media. We're hoping to figure out something where we can kind of maybe host a live party and have it also, include the book, include you. Well, I'd hope you'd be there. I can't read the book as well as you.
Well, no, if we did something, and we'll figure out the details, but if we did something for all your followers, we found a place to go do it, I would definitely do it, hang out and talk Dodger baseball and sign books. And we'd make some available for people to pick them up there if they didn't have any. And if they didn't pre-order them. But go ahead and pre-order, because the way the publishing business works, I understand, is that they will do a certain number in the first edition.
Right.
And we want to make sure that nobody, a lot of Dodger fans who would want to read this, I think. And we don't want to make sure they're shut out of the first edition.
Yeah.
So if you pre-order now, you won't be shut out of the first edition. And then we'll try to work some events, and we will have some events in the LA area where I'll be able to meet people and sign them, and we're hoping to get a certain number of them signed by the man who did the forward also.
All right, yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. That's one thing. I'm looking forward to when I could finally get my paws on the full book. But Bulldog is he's a sneaky good wordsmith. That guy
He is. He's great.
Yeah. So you're telling the story about the publisher and how much they loved it, and the editor and all that, and just obviously how much that means to get somebody like Hershiser to weave the story the way he can from '88 to 2020. That's going to be. I mean, that's got to be worth the price of admission alone. And then, oh, by the way, you also get a bunch of great stories.
Right.
A bunch
Insider
of
look
great
at 2020.
Insider look as best you can from the booth for sure.
It's different. I mean, we had a review. If you want to look it up, the Orange County Register wrote a review on it. J.P. Hoonstra did a review. If you want to search it online, but it was positive, and I was pretty happy with that. And he liked the angle that I took. I didn't try to do it like from inside the clubhouse when everybody knew we couldn't be in there. So it would have been, not the way to do it. But we did it from a different perspective. It was journaled, and I'll be honest with you, when they were down to the Braves 3-1, I was kind of nervous about that, and also nervous about the book side of things too. I'm like, is anybody going to want to read it if they don't win?
Yeah, Moneyball doesn't quite have the same punch it could have. You don't really sell a movie off a 20-game, 22-game, whatever winning streak, and then that's the end.
Yeah, but it worked. It worked great,
Yeah.
and everything worked out very, very well, and I'm glad things are going pretty well on the field this year. It's interesting because when you lose a game, like for example, when you lose a game the way they did in Game 1 against the Cubs,
Yeah.
when they're no hit. Well, you have to look at it from our angle. You have to say, okay, well, that no-hitter just set up the next 3 wins.
Big time.
Would you win 3 out of 4 if you were no-hit in one game?
Oh, yeah. Every
time.
Every chance I could, I'm going that way.
Every single time. Who cares? It's a loss. A loss is a loss.
Yeah.
Just like a win is a win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about wins and losses at the end of the day, and those guys have completely forgotten about it already.
Right.
And they came out and they won the next 3 against a good team, and we'll see what they do tonight. I hope they take care of business against the Giants. I have a good feeling about Bauer tonight.
Yeah.
And I think that he's going to pitch well. I thought Kershaw was incredible yesterday. His slider was nasty. Don't ever call it a cutter. Don't ever call it a cutter, and don't say he's vintage.
Yeah.
Don't call him vintage.
Not a vintage fan.
But he does throw a vintage slider.
He does, absolutely.
It's really good.
Tim, we had a question from Anthony over on Periscope where we kind of already talked about this beforehand, but he wanted to know when you were going to be traveling with the team again. I guess a better question to that is, what do you miss most about traveling with the team?
Well, yeah, the answer to the first question, I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea. The second part of it is what I miss most about it is being able to be there, to be able to be on the scene, to be able to report what I see, not just during the game, but a lot of the work is done before the game, on the field, in the clubhouse, talking to the other broadcasters, talking to the other media members, talking to the other players and coaches that I know from other teams. That's where we get our stories. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm running out of recycled stories.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm ready. I should be able to get back down on the field when they're home next. I'm going to try to get down there tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to do studio, by the way. I want to fill in for John Hartung on Sportsnet LA, but we're going to do pregame from Dodger Stadium. So I'll be there early, and I'm going to go down early and actually go face-to-face with somebody for the first time in a year and a half.
Yeah, and that new booth is really, it's wonderful. It's there in the pavilion. I apologize in advance if you're working with Jerry Hairston. He's I know you have your run-ins.
No, I don't have any run-ins.
We love him.
Jerry run-ins, but it's experience.
Jerry is great. Jerry's great to be around. He's funny. He's good. He's a good guy.
Honestly, one of our favorites.
Yeah, and I love working with Nomar, and I love working with Ned, and those guys are just absolutely wonderful to be around. They really are, and we get along well. And it was funny last year. It's another thing is I did some studio. We were testing out the set.
Yeah,
we did it from Dodger Stadium.
Oh, really?
An empty Dodger Stadium. We did it a couple of times.
Wow.
I had to fill in for Alana Rizzo.
Yeah.
Last minute, one time I got a phone call. Was it 2 hours before they needed me?
Right.
Hey, are you doing anything right now? Alana's under the weather, and we need you to come out to the stadium right now. So, that was another story. But so we got out there. I did it from the set out there with nobody around.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And I can't wait till tomorrow when everybody can be around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be neat.
I like the different personalities. Like, there's just such broad, different personalities across the whole broadcast crew. I think top to bottom, even just top to bottom. But you look at Jay Hair, combined with Nomar, combined with Ned, combined with someone like you, it's just like so broad and so different. I love that there's something for everybody.
Across TV, across radio. Again, all of you guys, it's a championship team, and it's a championship broadcast network all around. Like we've said a couple of times, you couldn't have done I don't think fans could have really hacked even a 60-game season if it wasn't done as well as it was done, just top to bottom. And hey, it also helps when your team wins more than 2/3 of the games along the way.
That helps too. Yeah.
It's usually a good part of
It
it.
brings home a ring, because I did see a couple of questions like, what is that ring right there? So yes, guys, that is the full championship ring. We'll have the sorry I can't get a better zoom in the moment, but we'll
post some pictures.
We'll have some pictures. It's a heavy boy. It's definitely a heavy boy.
Get the
I'm
arm
very
workout.
grateful for the Dodgers. They took great care of us in that regard, and it's just I will say this: I've got one from another team.
Yeah.
It has not been on my finger as much as this one has.
Dodgers played a part in that one too, by the way.
Yeah,
They did.
I had somebody point out in the chat. It seems that World Series are kind of following you, Tim.
It's funny you mention that, because it's actually been written up. There's been writers who have written this story and broadcasters who have talked about this story, but they have said wherever you go, the teams win. And it's funny. It's a funny coincidence, because when I went to Pittsburgh, they stunk.
Yeah.
Okay? The only reason we didn't lose 100 games in 2010 was because we had one rained out that was never made up. And we were losing that game. So we lost 99. But then in 13, 14, and 15, there were postseason teams.
Yeah. They were
And
really
the
good
city
teams.
was turned
Yep.
on its ear. We had more fun. I got a message yesterday on Facebook from somebody I didn't know, saying I want to, you remind me of that season. Those 3 seasons were great. A week doesn't go by where I don't hear from somebody about 13, 14, and 15 in Pittsburgh. So they win. So then, so I end up getting offered the job in Boston. I was going to stay in Pittsburgh. My parents were very, very ill, and we live in New England, grew up in New England. So I decided to go home and help them and be around there and be around my family and still do Major League Baseball. It was a hard decision because Pittsburgh was so great. But I leave Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh automatically goes in last place. I get to Boston. They were in last place the year before I got there.
Yeah.
The 3 years I was there, we win the division all 3 years and then a World Series.
Yep.
So I leave there because the Dodgers situation was, hey, it's the Dodgers.
Right.
Okay? It's the situation where I can get back to doing more what I do, which is radio and TV. So, and work around the best professionals in the business. So I was thrilled to get the opportunity here in L.A., came out here, win the division again, in a World Series.
Yeah.
It only took 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that there's multiple of these in the future, but it's a weird coincidence
Right.
that for the last, let's see, what is it, 3, 6, 7, 8 years, going on 9 years, I've been with teams that have gone to the postseason and won 2 World Series.
Yeah, I think baseball. I won't say baseball front offices are superstitious, or baseball players in general, I guess, are superstitious. But you're about to get I think some competition. I think some teams are going to come calling now.
Yes.
Now I will say we love you here. However, I really I have an itch and I want to test this theory. We need to see about getting you part-time with like the Angels. Just see what happens. Get you there for like a season
really gotta
and a
test
half,
the theory.
and then all of a sudden,
That doesn't work.
no, I don't, it's
That doesn't
there's
work.
something. There's some good juju right there for sure.
Well, I hope so. I hope that's true, but I will say this on the other side. There's no such thing as a broadcaster's jinx. And I hear that all the time. The other day when Walker Buehler was going well, and it's the 6th inning. That's usually my cutoff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's my cutoff. They go through 5, then into the 6th, I'll start talking about it. And I had the nastiest messages from people that it was my fault,
Yep.
fault entirely.
Yep. You can't even hint at it. You can't say anything about
if
it.
anybody's and any Dodger fan that ever listened to a Dodger broadcast in their life knows that they're going to hear it talked about
Yeah.
because the master did it.
He did it.
Yes.
And if you're, and I totally agree with him, if you're not telling people what's going on in the game and why you're supposed to tune in and stay tuned in and why you need to call friends and tell them to tune in, then you're not doing your job.
Yeah, absolutely
Absolutely,
not doing
yeah.
your job.
So-
I mean, also every time I still just cringe. I was listening to that game on the drive home. I ended up at a Quakes game, and game ended. That Quakes crushed them. So on my way home, I'm listening. Charlie's just no hitter. I said, Charlie, stop it.
It's look, if you're in the stands, it's great.
Yeah.
If you're in the dugout, it's fine. we had a shot on TV of his teammates talking to him during
Yeah,
the game, which is usually like, that's forbidden.
Hands off, yep.
But not in this case. It's look, they know what's going on. They know.
Well, I mean, apparently the Cubbies didn't know what was going on. The whole
The
Cubs
relievers.
bullpen.
The relievers.
The Craig Kimbrell, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know him a little bit, and I know that he doesn't pay attention to the game until like the 8th inning. So he had no idea what was going on. He just is very focused on his job and his job alone. So that didn't surprise me at all.
I'll note here, I'll sidebar here that a few of the comments here were pretty pissed at me for offering your services and your good luck charm to the Angels. And
Don't worry about it, folks. Don't worry.
One of our friends of the show here, Moshe, who incidentally is the guy who Manny Machado owes a $300 million contract.
That's
to.
the guy.
That's the
him.
guy. He says, "What are you doing? He is ours."
So Moshe in his $300 million contract wants you here.
Yeah.
Moshe, that's great.
And apparently he's going to pay you.
Well, he can afford it once Manny gives him his contract.
Yeah,
I'll be
we're still
Moshe's
waiting.
best friend at that point. Wow, that's unbelievable that you got that guy following you.
Yeah, it all comes together here. This guy likes to say Mr. Worldwide, so we do what we can. So one of the narratives we've had here on the show recently, and I want to get your opinion because it all started heading into summer camp, even before that with the 2020 season. But we're seeing the relationship between baseball and the players rapidly deteriorate. Just first off, like, you're somebody who's been around the game a long, long time. What are some of your thoughts on kind of the state of baseball and even the future with the CBA expiring at the end of the season?
My personal thoughts on it, and these are just my personal thoughts on it, are that we just lost a lot of a season. The players got paid for 37% of a season last year. The owners lost millions.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Tens of millions, even hundreds of millions. They lost billions combined. If they want to go to have a work stoppage and not make any money, who are we to stop them?
Right.
But I just don't think that's going to be the case. This sport economically is a golden goose.
Yeah.
People love this sport. I mean, people love the Dodgers. They love whatever team. Even the Angels fans, they love the Angels. I mean, the Yankees fans love the Yankees. They want to see them play. They want to see their favorite players play. It is my sincere hope that the Players Union and Major League Baseball can see eye to eye and figure it out. Now, there's a lot of things that are going to be thrown into this new CBA from the players' standpoint, like, little things, like they're not going to want reporters in the clubhouse before games anymore. Now that they've been spoiled rotten with it over the last year and a half, they're going to want some things to stay the same. There's going to be a number of things, I think, that they're going to ask for that were never even considered in the past. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be some major issues. Sometimes I think to myself that maybe they need somebody new to negotiate from one side or another, because the personalities from everything I read, and I don't know, I'm not in the room. I've met some of these people individually, like Rob Manfred and Tony Clark. I've met these guys along the way in the past. They just don't get along, apparently, or their representatives don't. Now, keep in mind, during the pandemic, Clark and Manfred met in Arizona. Manfred went to Arizona, and they met privately, one-on-one, which is great. But I hope that they can sit in a room and say, we're not leaving this room until we have a deal. For the benefit of this game, for the benefit of all the employees, not just the players.
Exactly.
There are many, many more employees in Major League Baseball than just players. It's only like 750 players, right?
Right.
There's thousands and thousands of people who make a living in baseball who will be in jeopardy, right?
Us. We do that.
So,
Yeah.
So, these are the things that people need to understand, that it's just not about the players and the owners. It's about the industry as a whole, and I hope they can figure it out for the greater good of all.
Yeah, and you also really, really hope that they could figure out a way to pay minor leaguers a living wage. mix in some things like that. It's not about the big league level only. But we don't need to delve too much into that sure.
I got to say, Tim, it's the most positive viewpoint I've heard on it so far because, we've talked to a lot of people about it. We just talked to Buster Olney from ESPN about it. And
right, I know Buster.
It was like a, doom and gloom, like, hey, prepare. And it's like, I really love this sport. I don't want to see my sport.
I know what his thoughts are. I actually read his thing. I saw him briefly yesterday and read his contribution on that. And I know he's talking to a lot of the people involved, so they're painting gloom and doom. But also keep in mind, we're talking about negotiations.
Yeah.
So people want to set things up in advance to make it seem like it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
So if they get half of what they want, hey, this is great.
Yeah.
Who knows what the posturing is? And I think the posturing began a long time ago. Remember, there's a lot of lawyers involved here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So believe me, when you read stuff, when Buster writes it, a good portion of that's going to be accurate and very, very good to follow. But there's some things that we just don't know about and won't know about because they don't want you to know about it.
Yeah, a lot more going on behind the scenes than we know. And I think that was that's actually something Trevor Bauer just talked about on the broadcast yesterday, where he's like, well, a lot of the talking's done through media nowadays. Like, it's just easier for one side, for whatever reason, to funnel it through a media member and be like, this is what's happening.
If they know the media, like if one side wants to negotiate and they say, all right, we're going to leak it to person X.
Right.
Because we know that if we give it to person X, it's going to be like gasoline on a fire. And in our favor.
Right. Yeah.
So wait, that might be Bob Nightingale if it's gas on a fire. No. Friend of the show. We love Bob.
Bob's great. Bob's one of the best.
Yeah. He's a fun one. I wanted to sidebar here. We got Mel over checking in on YouTube saying, I love listening to Tim and Rick on radio and Oral and Joe on TV. Great show tonight with Tim. So you got a Tim Neverett fan in the stream hanging out there. Says another great show.
Just takes one. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, there's plenty. We also got some people that are chiming in about Brooks' new mustache, but we'll save that for another day.
Yeah, that's not happening.
So the Jock Peterson plan? Is that what you
Yeah. Get the real thin, kind of invisible type of mustache going on.
But he uses the...
It's more Joe Kelly-ish, actually.
A little bit, yeah. I grew it last year during
it's frisky these days.
Pandemic, and we won a World Series, so a lot of people credit me for that.
Yeah.
I do my part, little by little.
We made him a nice little plaque about it,
My wife sacrificed everything for that.
Everything. Tremendous. All right, you said the name Joseph Kelly. You've been around that guy now for a little while. We've heard some stories for sure. What's your favorite story that you can tell about Joe Kelly on air?
In the neighborhood I lived in Boston, I used to walk the dog different times of the day and night, and we'd always have to walk by a certain stop sign. And on the stop sign was a sticker somebody slapped up there. It said Joe Kelly Fight Club. Joe is a free spirit. I love Joe. He's fun to be around. He's fun to talk to. I'm so glad he's pitching well right now.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he feels better, that the shoulder's not bothering him anymore, and he threw 100 and 101 recently. That's the Joe Kelly that
he's back.
We want to see.
He looks like he's back.
But one thing that really makes me laugh is one spring training in Boston, he did this feature that he got this makeup crew to come in.
Saw this.
And he pretended to be some like really old and weird local reporter named Jim Buchanan. And he said, where are you from? He said, JWK-TV, Punta Gorda, Florida. Punta Gorda's a town just right up the coast a little bit, like 30 minutes from Fort Myers, and JWK happens to be Joe's initials.
Right. Yep.
So he went around and did things that you're not supposed to do. They gave him a media credential. Only a few people were in on it. He's standing face to face with teammates, David Ortiz, Brock Holt, teammates who didn't know who he was. That's how good the makeup job was, right?
Yeah.
They had no idea who he was, and he's running on the field, and security's chasing him around. You can't be out here. He goes in the workout room where Hall of Famer Jim Rice is there, and Jim was irritated because Jim was ready to slug him. And you don't want to get Jim Rice upset because he will slug you.
Yeah.
But
he's not a small man.
No, he is not. And he's a great guy, great human being, and a Hall of Famer in every sense of the word. But Joe Kelly as Jim Buchanan upset him that day. But Joe's funny, and I'll never forget the first year with the Dodgers in 2019 when his son Knox came in the clubhouse at Camelback Ranch, and Dave Roberts said, "Who's your favorite player?" And he goes, "Mookie Betts,"
Yes.
the guy who just beat him in the World Series.
Yeah.
And the players went, "What?"
It's good timing on Knox. Knox got the comedic timing down.
He later figured it out, though. Rally Knox definitely contributed to that
Yeah, he
2020 championship, too.
Absolutely.
He did. Joe's a good guy. I like Joe.
Yeah. He definitely gets a lot more crap than he deserves, but that's how it goes for relievers.
Have you been to see his mural?
Yes,
I have not.
I
He
have.
did an interview with the fellow who
With
painted it,
Jonas Never?
Yep.
Yeah.
That dude's a phenomenal artist.
That's where I lived. I lived right down the street in 2019 in Silver Lake, and during the season, and it was right near the building I lived in. And so I knew right where it was at Sunset and Park Ave. So I went over there one day, took a picture of it, and texted it to Joe. I said, "Hey, look what I just found."
That's so funny. That was one of those things where I went up like on a Tuesday afternoon, and there were like 60 Dodger fans out there,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Whoa!"
It's a great
okay.
photo opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
for
yeah.
Dodger fans.
Got to be good for business, too, over there.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you line it up all outside. Why not?
Anthony Keene says Joe Kelly holding down the 909 and breaking windows. Don't forget that one. He's
Local boy.
He's the pride of
Joe
Rancho.
Kelly.
Right
on
now.
YouTube. Got Dodger Chavez Ravine saying, great show. Thank you. Lynn Brown says, I am the funniest. Thank you, Lynn Brown. But also smartly says, I love Rick Monday and Tim Neverett. That's who I listen to. So big fan there. Katie says, I'm only here to declare my love for Tim. And she actually earlier in the stream asked, I want a signed copy of the book. So we'll facilitate. We'll make something happen with that. Katie is actually a big time friend of the show. She sent us this nice whiskey barrel
Oh,
here.
very
so,
nice.
Wood burned and everything.
Yeah, wood
That's
burned.
great. That looks nice.
She set it on fire, and it just happened to look like
It
our
just
logo.
came out like
so
that.
that's real
Well,
nice.
Katie, we'll work with these guys. We'll try to come up with an event where we can do an in-person event and get some of those books signed.
There you go. Because that's been the number one request so far in my comments and your comments
Yeah.
is, hey, I would really like to talk to him and get a signature in there or something like that.
But
So we'll make something happen.
jump on the pre-sale so we don't run out of them.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah, we could work out the autograph side of things afterwards, you know.
Yeah, easiest thing, search it on Amazon, COVID Curveball, and give you an explanation of the book. And again, you're going to want to read what Oral had to write in there, and a lot of the comments. And it's some fun stuff, some strange stuff, but it takes you through the COVID season. And, like for me, it was where I stayed, the ballpark, the grocery store, the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. And we couldn't really go anywhere. And
Same with us. We
much.
weren't in here for most of it. You know, we had to be doing it awkwardly, through TVs, and we don't have the budget you guys do up there in the booth.
I had the Charlie internet budget, where every once in a while I'd jump out of the stream and then I'd come back like, hey, sorry, my internet dropped. Hi guys again, 5 minutes left on the stream.
Charlie had the best internet though.
Yeah, I know.
He had the Rolls Royce of internet, I think.
Kevin asks, what's better, audiobook or hardcover? I would always go hardcover because if you're a Dodger fan, like having a nice collection of books is just, it's great.
And then its number over on YouTube says I just bought a copy right now. So there you
thank
go.
you very
There
much.
You go.
I
There's the
appreciate it.
pre-sale.
Yeah, if we should do like a giveaway or something like in the minute. No, I'm bad at that.
Not in the minute.
You got a ding sound
Stickers.
effect for every time somebody buys
Yeah,
one.
there you go.
There's a buy.
There's
and money. We got just about every sound effect you can hope for in here.
And if you don't buy the book,
We got a real shock jock atmosphere in here.
yeah. It's usually a lot worse with that, but we're professionals today.
Yeah.
We got a true pros pro. We got one from one of our guys internally, Eddie, and it goes off of we're talking about some Joe Kelly stories. We're talking about some Boston Times. What have been kind of some differences? How much different is the LA fan base over the Boston fan base?
They're not as grumpy. I've been asked about that. Why are fans in the Northeast so rude? I think they're just totally grumpy, and I think the weather has a lot to do with it.
I could see that.
I mean, having lived there, grown up there, worked there, been through it all, I feel qualified to say that. Are fans upset and do they get grumpy when the Dodgers lose or when the manager makes a move that doesn't work out? And they're not all going to work out. Most of them do, but a lot of them don't. I think the Dodger fan, the fan bases are very fervent. They're very, very religious about their teams.
Right.
The Dodger fan base, I thought the Red Sox fan base was big. The Dodger fan base is huge.
Yeah.
It's much bigger and it's much more international. So like, during games, I'll get tweeted at from people in Japan and Australia, Great Britain, Italy, all over the world. And I do welcome tweets during the game, by the way. I'm not opposed to that. And every once in a while on radio, you'll hear me say, where are you from tonight?
Right.
And things like that. So we want to know if people are in Burbank or Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So we find out. But, it's one of those things where it's hard to say one is better than the other. The Dodgers are bigger, without question. I know the Red Sox fans wouldn't put up with the traffic getting in and out of the ballpark. And the Dodger fans are like, man, that's great. We get to listen to the great pregame and postgame on the radio, and we're, it's a different vibe. It's a different thing altogether. But I got to tell you, the Dodger fans that I have met have been wonderful, have been absolutely wonderful, and I think that they've got not only the biggest, but I think all in all, I think they have the best fan base in not just Major League Baseball, maybe in all sports. And I'm talking globally.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say maybe I'm biased, but I've been a Dodger fan my whole life, so it kind of works out that way.
I want to exclude maybe one or two of the Premier League soccer teams around the world. I remember once when I was in Thailand in the city of Bangkok, and I remember getting out of the airport and looking at the tall buildings downtown and seeing Wayne Rooney from the penthouse down to the basement.
Right.
I'm like, wow, that's pretty far away from Great Britain, and they get this guy on the side of a building. This is amazing.
Very passionate
big Manchester
about it.
United fans, but I mean, the Dodgers, no matter where you go. And that's international. I've traveled a lot internationally, and the two hats that I see people wearing internationally are the Yankees, but the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I see them all over the world.
That's one of the things you could attribute to how great the organization has been run for decades and decades and decades and decades. I mean, Fernando Mania, one of your colleagues there up in the Vin Scully press booth he changed baseball there for the 1981 season and beyond, and then you flash forward a decade, No Mania happened, and then you're just touching all of these different different fan bases in a way. I mean, Dodgers, the team that signed and made Adrian Beltre made his debut with them. That's a guy, I don't think there's anybody who's more beloved in baseball and in the Dominican than somebody like Beltre, and Dodgers just did it right, and that's where we get to now keep living the fruits of just years of what the O'Malleys did, and
but here's
even the McCourts a little bit, even the McCourts.
Well, here's something that you got to remember that most teams, if not every other team, doesn't have, that the Dodgers do. They're good, and they have good prospects.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Are you
granted,
telling me it's important to be a good team?
they draft and develop. I mean, look at the homegrown guys on the team right now.
Yeah.
Now, granted, one of them's not pitching tonight.
Wait, I hear they
one did
buy
last night.
championships.
Kershaw's homegrown. Buehler's homegrown. Go down up and down the list. You've got Bellinger's homegrown. Seager's homegrown.
Gavin's homegrown.
Right. Gavin Lux homegrown. I mean, they
Kenley Jansen.
Will
Smith.
Yes, exactly.
The list goes on and on. I mean,
it does.
You could almost at this point he's not, but you can argue shit, Justin Turner's almost homegrown. He grew up a
borderline homegrown.
He's Cal State Fullerton.
It feels enough like that. A couple more pre-orders happen here in the stream. Look at that.
Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate you guys. Katie, including Katie. So we now have the book ready that we can get you to sign at some point in time.
Step one.
Thank you, Katie.
Anthony over there as well. Pre-order.
Yeah,
thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.
I think you guys are going to love it.
Appreciate it.
Very excited about it.
Appreciate
all right,
it.
well, we don't want to rip off all of your time, and we also do have a game coming up. So let's shift gears ever so slightly into what's going on now. We got two teams that are fighting for first place. A pretty unexpected Giants team in first place, first team to 50 wins. Dodgers sitting 3.5 games back. Two teams, very good teams, but I don't think that many people expected this out of San Francisco this year.
No, they didn't. I think a lot of the reason is what they got out of Kevin Gausman.
Yeah.
I saw Kevin pitch in Baltimore. This isn't the same guy.
Yeah.
Not even slightly.
Good for him, right? Good for him.
Absolutely,
good for anybody who does well. Johnny Cueto had a great start, right? Mm-hmm. Alex Wood.
Great.
Right?
Phenomenal.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Now they're getting good pitching. Yastrzemski is another guy the Orioles gave up on, and what were they thinking? My gosh. Anyway, I mean, they literally cast him aside.
Yeah, the Orioles fan base, mind you, does not travel well.
No, they do not. They don't travel to home games well.
Home games, yeah.
I've been to many nights at Camden Yards,
Yep.
and I've seen visiting team takeovers a lot there.
Yep.
But anyway, here's the thing. Okay, Dodgers are in second place, 3.5 out. Padres right behind them in the rearview mirror. This is the best division in baseball. Mm-hmm. This is great. When these teams can compete this way and every game is meaningful, I mean, we're talking about a game in late June that has a ton of meaning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Before you're like, they're going to win the division anyway, so what? Right now, this means something. Tomorrow night's game, that means something. They get Wednesday off. Thursday, they got to play on the road. They get that really early game against Washington on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
8 a.m., by the way, you'll be watching Nomar and me on Sportsnet LA. We drew the short straw.
So we'll be drinking right along with you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Good start to the day.
I got to be at the ballpark about 5 a.m.
Oh,
so,
happy 4th of July.
Yeah.
I got it.
But anyway, well, but they got to go out east and play Washington, who's getting great play out of Kyle Schwarber. He homered again today. And then on to Miami to play the Marlins. And, you can't take anything for granted in the big leagues.
No.
But I love the fact that the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Padres are all having seasons worthy of winning a division. Who's going to be there at the end? We think we know.
Right.
We think they'll be wearing blue, and I'm fairly certain of that. But the Giants, for what they've done, tip your cap and now go out and beat them twice at home.
One of the arguments that we've heard, I think we have even been a part of that since the beginning of the year, is that just the way that the Giants are built and the performances from, specific players, I guess, that they're getting is that, hey, it's not going to last all year. Eventually it'll fall apart. But now we're at a point where it's like, late June, it's not looking like it's going to fall apart at all. Do you think this is something that carries them throughout the rest of the season?
No. Just like, they're not bummed about being no-hit the other day.
Right.
It's funny because baseball players are wired differently than most human beings. And it starts in the minor leagues. As soon as they get their claws on you in the minor leagues, you learn to think compartmentally. Mm-hmm. You learn to think about today and right now. Not about tomorrow, not about yesterday, not about your last at bat, not about the error you just made the half inning before. It's happened. None of it matters.
Right.
If you win a game, okay, great, we won. It's over. Forget it. I got to worry about the next one. The biggest game that you play is the one today. Mm-hmm. Not the one that you won coming back from 6 runs down. Not the one that you had a walk-off home run in. Those were nice moments. Those were great, and you did what it took to win. It's today that matters in baseball. And baseball players, coaches, people who are around the game every day, you really learn to think compartmentally differently than most individuals. And sometimes it's hard for people to kind of understand how guys can, go boot a ball in the 3rd inning and in the top of the 4th they come up and no big deal. You can't bring your bat with you in the field and you can't take your glove to the plate, and you learn that early, even though it's really hard to do. You remember in Little League when you did that? You made an error, you get up to the plate and you're like, I got to hit a 5-run home run right now.
Yeah. I still do that in softball, but that's just me. I'm not trained that well. I didn't make it to the minor league, so
one day,
one of these days, I'm really holding out.
There's still hope, maybe. We'll see.
But we got a hell of a series here. Good matchups, not getting cheated into the matchups with Bauer going up against old teammate Desclafani tonight, and then you got Gausman Buehler tomorrow, and you'll be at that game, so that'll be nice. Oh wait, yeah, you said you're doing the pregame there.
Yeah, I'll do the pregame at the stadium. We do the postgame in El Segundo.
Yeah.
So
good little drive.
I'll see some of the game, and then I gotta down the freeway.
I hear there's a good radio station that covers the game though. You should check them out.
Listen to every pitch.
Beautiful.
AM 570.
So I want your predictions first, and then I have one walk-off question for him. What do you think's gonna happen in this series?
Tim, this is a lot of pressure because I only got the last series right. I was going to say I got a streak on a line. It's a one streak. I think the Dodgers take both of these games. I do. I really feel that.
That's what I was going for. That's what I voted for in our little forthcoming app that will be out maybe at some point in time. Tim, one of my favorite questions I saw before we wrap up, because it is game time and we don't want to cut into Trevor Bauer's time. He's going to get mad at us. But our post-game show host, Doug McCaney, asked, better rivalry, Dodgers-Giants, Red Sox Yankees. You've had the privilege of calling both.
Yep.
What are you thinking?
I've been asked that many, many times, and I'll go back to what I said before. There's more grumpiness out east, and there's more hatred toward each other in the stands than there is on the field. Giants-Dodgers stems from New York, stems from Brooklyn, and across from the Bronx where the Polo Grounds used to be. Because I don't know if you realize how close Yankee Stadium and where the Giants played, how close they were back in the day. But anyway, it stems from that era. It's carried over here since 1958. And I'm so glad these games mean more now. And I'm glad that the Giants don't stink anymore, at least for now. You'd love to pummel them every year, but that's not what a rivalry is about. No. The rivalries are not one-sided. You're going to lose some, but you're going to win some too. And you hope you win the ones that count the most. And that's what the Dodgers are trying to do. I think that Dodgers-Giants has just so much history to it, from the days in Brooklyn and New York, to out here in L.A. and San Francisco, and the fact that they were partners in Western expansion too. Yeah, they were partners in that. Remember, but at the same time, I like this rivalry because I think the fans are wonderful. I think the stadiums are wonderful. The cities are great, and even though people get upset when things don't go their way, they're not nearly as grumpy as they are back east.
Some good Yankees-Red Sox fights, though, man.
Yeah. It is what it, I mean, we have our fights, but they're a little bit more...
a little more tame, I guess. They're just more of a benches clearing incident. That's it.
Yeah, those are fun.
Notable.
Well, we hope to not see one this week. I think it'll be pretty tame, and it's fun when two teams like this, and I mean, hell, they've been lumping the Padres.
There's a lot of respect.
Yeah.
I think there's a good respect factor from the players, the coaches, and the fans too. I do think, though. I think there's more respect, there's more maturity in the relationship, and I think that's something to consider about this rivalry.
For sure. Well, let's get a couple steps closer to first place. Tim, thank you so much for coming out. Obviously, there's a lot more. It feels like we barely tipped the iceberg here, so we'll figure out some more stuff. Everybody make sure you go out and pre-order COVID Curveball. It's a book written by that man right there. He's here live in the studio. It's our first person live in the studio in what feels like 1,000 years. So we appreciate you once again for coming out.
Thank you.
Looking forward to doing more with you and looking forward to getting our paws on that book. Guys, find us on the internet. We're at DodgersNation.com. Subscribe to our podcast. We are Blue Heaven, and we are on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, everywhere your podcasts are available for free. We live there. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DodgersNationTV. We'll be glad you did.
And Doug will be glad you did. Guys, I am at BrookMe3. This guy over here is at RealFRG. We're on Twitter and Instagram. We're at Dodgers Nation on Twitter, at Official Dodgers Nation on Instagram. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for your questions. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for keeping up with us. Go Dodgers. You guys are probably already watching the game. We'll see you Thursday.
Bye. And